Okay, let's unpack this. This statistic is pretty staggering. The average American checks their phone 352 times a day.
Yeah, it's wild when you hear the number put like that.
Once every 4 minutes. And, you're probably listening and nodding along because, well, it feels right, doesn't it? That constant urge.
It really does. It's
It
become such a
is.
background hum in modern life, that urge to just quickly check, almost unconscious.
Right, unconscious. And that's what we're diving into today, this digital drain, that constant pull, maybe even phantom buzzes.
Hmm.
And it's easy to think, oh, it's just me, I lack willpower. But what we're seeing here suggests it's more systemic than that.
Exactly. It's not purely a personal failing. The environment, the tech itself, it's designed in specific ways. These platforms are built to grab and hold our attention.
Carefully conditioned is a phrase used here, and the consequences, they creep into everything.
They really do.
Like trying to read a book, how often does your hand just sort of twitch towards the phone?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Or, you're talking to someone, a friend, family, are you really present? Or is part of your brain listening for that notification sound?
That fractured attention. It makes deep work, that real flow state, so much harder to achieve.
Definitely. And sleep. Don't get me started on the late night scroll.
Oh, yeah. The blue light, the mind still
They're like
races.
a perfect storm for bad sleep. Right. The sources are pretty clear on that disruption.
And it forces you to ask, what's the trade-off? What are we actually losing?
Good question. And the answer seems to be, well, our ability to focus deeply
Mm-hmm. And the quality of our connections with people face to face?
and just fundamental rest, that ability to recharge.
Absolutely.
There's this example in the source material, Alex, a graphic designer, feeling totally drained, creatively stuck.
All right.
Didn't connect it to the phone until they actually tracked their screen time. 5 hours a day, mostly just scrolling.
Wow, 5 hours. That adds up incredibly fast.
Yeah. And realizing that was linked to their creative block.
Mm.
That was the wake-up call. It shows how those little checks, they really accumulate.
And often there's that disconnect, isn't there, between how much time we think we spend and the reality the tracker shows us.
Totally. It becomes so automatic, you just don't notice.
So what's driving all this? What's the mechanism?
The sources call it the attention economy. Basically, our focus. It's become a valuable resource.
A commodity.
Exactly. And platforms are competing fiercely for it. Every little notification, the endless scroll, it's all designed to keep us hooked.
And there's a neurological basis for this, right? The dopamine hit.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it's fascinating, just the anticipation of seeing something new, a notification, a new post that triggers dopamine release in the
That
brain.
reward chemical.
Right. It creates this feedback loop. Think about slot machines. You don't win every time, but the possibility keeps you pulling the lever.
Wow, so it's the maybe. Maybe this notification is important. Maybe this next post is amazing.
Precisely. The unpredictability is key. It keeps us engaged, checking, swiping. The anticipation is often more powerful than the actual reward.
That makes so much sense. It's not always what you find. It's the hunt.
And while we should be careful with comparisons, the underlying brain mechanisms do share features with other habit-forming behaviors. It makes these patterns feel really sticky, hard to break.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? The flip side is what we gain when we cut back.
Absolutely. That's the encouraging part. We're talking about improved focus, getting back into that flow state.
More present relationships, like actually listening without one ear waiting for a ping.
Better sleep, definitely.
Yeah.
And literally reclaiming hours. Hours every single week.
Imagine what you could do with that reclaimed time. Hobbies, learning something new, just resting.
It's not just about finding more minutes in the day, though. It's about mental clarity, too. A sense of calm, maybe. Reduced anxiety.
Yeah, less mental clutter. Our sources suggest even small reductions can make a noticeable difference in mood and productivity.
So that leads us to our mission for this deep dive.
Right. It's not about being anti-technology. We need these tools.
Exactly. It's pro-intention. Using tech on your terms.
So the goal is practical. How can you, listening right now, realistically cut back, maybe have those phone checks, reclaim that focus?
That's the plan, to give you a framework, some real tools to start taking back control.
Okay, so where do we start? What's step one?
Well, a lot of the research points towards the morning routine. Something simple, maybe under 5 minutes at first.
The morning, okay. Because that first hour sets the tone, doesn't it?
It really can, but it's tough. That immediate reach for the phone.
Oh, yeah. It's almost muscle memory for so many of us. That little hit of FOMO, fear of missing out, what happened overnight.
Right, and this is where that idea of digital minimalism comes in. Being deliberate. using tech to support your values, not letting it dictate them.
So being intentional right from the start of the day. But first, you need to know where you stand, presumably.
Precisely. You need your map, and that means tracking your screen time.
Okay, how do people do that?
It's usually built right in. On iOS, it's in Settings, under Screen Time. Android has Digital Well-being in Settings.
Gotcha.
The key, according to the sources, is just observe for the first week. No judgment. Just notice.
What should you look for?
Things like your total time, obviously. But also which apps you use most. How many times you actually pick up the phone, the pickups or unlocks.
And maybe when you use it most. Like, are there spikes?
Exactly. Finding those patterns, that's your starting point.
Okay, so you have the data. Then what? Timers?
Yep, app timers are a basic, effective tool. You can set daily limits for specific apps right there in the screen time settings.
Like only 30 minutes of Instagram a day.
Something like that. Start conservatively, something you think you can stick to. Even just the notification saying, time's up, creates friction.
A pause button makes you think, do I really need more?
Right. And the other huge one, notifications.
Ah, the constant interruptions.
They have a massive impact. The advice is to be really aggressive here. Go through your apps, look at the notification settings for each one.
And ask, do I actually need this alert? The sound, the banner popping up, the little red number.
Exactly. Question every single one. The recommendation is often to turn most of them off, especially social media, news alerts, non-essential emails.
What about email badges? Like the number count.
Maybe keep badges for email if you need a visual cue, but turn off the sounds and banners that actively interrupt you.
So only allow alerts that are genuinely time sensitive, like maybe a calendar reminder or a message from a specific person.
Precisely. You control what gets to interrupt your focus. It's amazing how much quieter your digital life becomes.
Okay, so we track, we set timers, we tame notifications. What about that powerful morning habit you mentioned?
Right, the big one. The advice is no phone for the first 30 to 60 minutes after you wake up.
Ooh, that's a challenge for many, I bet.
It can be. A practical tip is just keep the phone out of the bedroom, charge it somewhere else overnight.
Removes the temptation. So what do you do instead for that first half hour?
Anything else, really. Sit quietly, maybe some light stretching, make coffee mindfully, gratitude journal. Just be without the screen.
And why does this work so well?
It stops you from priming your brain for distraction, first thing. You start the day proactively, setting your agenda, instead of immediately reacting to the world's demands.
Less reactive, more intentional. The sources even mention it might help lower that morning cortisol spike.
Yeah, that stress hormone. Starting calm versus starting with a flood of notifications and emails can make a real difference to your whole day.
Okay. Are there any specific apps that can help with this stuff, beyond the built-in timers?
There are. Some specialized ones get mentioned, like Forest. It gamifies focus. You plant a virtual tree, and if you leave the app to get distracted, your tree dies.
Huh. Okay, a bit of accountability.
Then there's Freedom, which is more heavy duty. It lets you block websites and apps across multiple devices on a schedule.
So you could block work email after 6 p.m., for example.
Exactly. And another one called Opal focuses on the why. It makes you set an intention before you block distracting apps, reinforces the purpose.
Interesting. Using tech to manage tech. But what about those objections? I have to check work email, or what if there's an urgent message?
Yeah, the sources tackle that. They suggest batching email checks, maybe just twice a day instead of constant monitoring, and really questioning how many social media updates are truly urgent.
Most aren't, are they? When you really think about it.
Very few. It's about shifting the mindset. The key is small wins, right?
Absolutely. Don't try to change everything overnight. Successfully delaying the phone in the morning once, sticking to an app timer one day, resisting one notification check.
Those small victories build momentum. They prove to yourself that you can regain control.
Okay, so we've got some tools for managing our own focus, but what about relationships? How does this digital drain affect how we interact with others?
That's a crucial next step, moving beyond just individual habits to how we manage tech in social and professional contexts.
Because it's not just happening in isolation, is it? It affects our partners, families, colleagues.
Right. The question becomes, can setting digital boundaries actually make relationships stronger by fostering more presence?
It feels like there's this constant pressure, this expectation to be available 24/7, always on.
There absolutely is. But at the same time, we crave genuine connection, don't we? Undistracted attention.
Think about phones at the dinner table. Even if they're face down, they're still there. What message does that send?
It sends a message about priorities, definitely. There's even a term for it, phubbing. phone snubbing.
Fubbing. Okay.
Yeah. And research actually shows it negatively impacts relationship satisfaction and trust. Those little moments of choosing the phone over the person in front of you, they add up.
So how do we build these boundaries? What are the strategies?
Start simple. Create phone-free times or zones. Meal times are a great candidate. The bedroom is another really important one.
Okay, physical spaces or times where phones are just off limits.
Yeah. And communicate your availability. Let colleagues know I check email twice a day. Tell friends or family I turn off notifications after 8 p.m. to unwind.
Setting expectations so people know when they can reasonably expect a response.
Exactly. And prioritize richer interactions sometimes. Maybe suggest a quick phone call instead of a long text chain. Or a face-to-face coffee if it makes sense.
Makes sense. How do you actually say it, though? Communicating these boundaries without sounding difficult.
Good question. The sources suggest being clear and explaining the why. Like, hey, family, let's try keeping phones away during dinner so we can actually connect.
Or with friends, mind if we put our phones away while we catch up?
Right? Or professionally. To focus better, I'm limiting my notification checks outside of these hours. State the boundary, maybe the reason.
Yeah.
Invite cooperation, or just state your plan gently.
What about going bigger, like a digital detox?
Tech Sabbaths, yeah.
Yeah.
The idea of taking a dedicated period completely screen-free doesn't have to be a whole weekend at first. Maybe just a few hours.
What are the benefits of doing that?
People report feeling less anxious, sleeping better, gaining a fresh perspective when they step away completely for a bit. It's restorative.
But the fear is real, isn't it? What if I miss something important? What if I annoy people by not responding instantly?
That fear definitely comes up. But the sources emphasize most things aren't truly urgent, and setting expectations respectfully usually works out fine. People adjust.
It's about valuing presence, isn't it? Comparing a conversation constantly interrupted by phone checks versus one where both people are fully engaged.
Exactly. The depth of connection is just different. So these boundaries aren't about restriction. They're about building bridges to better connection. Acts of respect, really.
Okay, so we've built some external fences, but what about that internal battle? The compulsive scrolling. Timers might not be enough for that deep-seated habit.
You're right. That's often the toughest part. Why is just stopping scrolling so hard, even when we want to?
What's the hidden key there?
It often involves confronting those underlying subconscious habit loops. What triggers that urge to pick up the phone and scroll endlessly?
What are the common triggers?
The big ones are often boredom, anxiety, maybe seeking validation, or just plain procrastination. The phone becomes the default coping mechanism,
The quick fix for uncomfortable feelings.
pretty much. And the platform design itself plays a huge role. That infinite scroll feature.
Oh, yeah, you just keep going and going.
It taps right into FOMO and our attraction to novelty. There are no natural stopping points, so the reward system just keeps getting gently pinged.
So how do we fight that if timers aren't enough?
This is where mindfulness comes in as a really powerful internal tool.
Mindfulness, how does that apply here?
There's a simple 4-step process, often recommended. First, recognize. Just notice the urge to scroll when it arises, without judgment.
Okay, just awareness. Ah, there's the urge.
Second, pause. Create even just a tiny space, a breath, between the urge and the action of reaching for the phone.
Don't act immediately.
Third, identify. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Boredom, anxiety, avoiding something. Name it.
Dig a little deeper than just want to scroll.
And fourth, choose. Consciously choose a different action, something more constructive than mindless scrolling.
That pause seems critical, breaking the automatic link between urge and action.
It really is, inserting consciousness into that loop.
Yeah.
Another angle is environmental design.
How so? Like changing your surroundings?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Making the distracting apps harder to get to. Move them off your home screen. Bury them in a folder. Maybe even delete the app and only use the slower web version. Log out after each use.
Adding friction, making it less effortless.
Exactly. And conversely, make the good alternatives easier to access. Leave a book out. Keep your journal visible. Put your running shoes by the door.
Make the desired behavior the path of least resistance.
Right. Now, when you do resist that urge, you might feel uncomfortable.
Like withdrawal, restlessness, maybe irritability.
Yeah, that's normal. Digital withdrawal is a real thing. Feeling restless, anxious, that FOMO creeping in.
So how do you cope with that feeling when it hits?
Simple things can help. Go for a short walk, take a few deep breaths, do a quick stretch. Just acknowledge the feeling, okay, I feel restless right now, without needing to immediately fix it with the phone. Talking to a friend can help too.
And then there's habit replacement, right? You mentioned choosing a different action.
Crucial. If scrolling was masking boredom, find something genuinely engaging, like reading or a puzzle. If it was anxiety, maybe try meditation or deep breathing. If loneliness, call someone.
Match the replacement activity to the underlying need.
Exactly. So the sources suggest creating a specific plan. Like, pick your worst app, the one that sucks the most time, according to your tracker.
Okay, identify the main culprit.
Set a strict time limit, maybe just 15, 20 minutes a day to start. Move its icon off the home screen. Commit to logging out after every single use.
Wow, logging out every time adds a real hurdle.
It does. Before you open it, identify the trigger and the need. I'm feeling bored, so I want to open Instagram. Then, pick one specific replacement activity before you open it. Instead, I'll read one chapter of my book.
And commit to that plan for, say, a week.
Just try for a week. The real victory, the turning point the sources highlight, is that first time you feel the urge, pause, and consciously choose the other thing.
That moment of agency. Proving to yourself you're in control, not the algorithm.
That's the breakthrough. And once you start winning those battles, the rewards really start to show up.
And it's more than just getting time back, isn't it?
Oh, much more. We're talking deeper changes. Mental clarity, physical comfort. It's like claiming the spoils after winning that internal struggle.
So what are some of those specific mental benefits?
Enhanced focus is a big one. Retraining your attention span means you can engage more deeply with whatever you're doing.
Better concentration. And sleep, we mentioned that.
Definitely better sleep quality. Less blue light before bed, less mental churning. Also, reduced anxiety and stress. Less notification anxiety, less feeling constantly overwhelmed.
What about physically? Are there benefits there too?
Yes, subtle but significant. Less eye strain from staring at a closed screen. Fewer tension headaches, which are often linked to that strain in posture.
Ah, the tech neck posture.
Right. Better posture generally from less time hunched over. And even potentially small metabolic benefits, just from replacing sedentary scrolling time with,
Yeah.
well, anything else.
And that reclaimed time, let's quantify it again, an hour and a half a day less scrolling.
That's over 40 hours a month. Think about that. 40 hours.
That's like adding a part-time job's worth of hours back into your life, but for things you want to do.
Exactly. Pursue a hobby, learn an instrument, exercise, connect more deeply with loved ones, or just rest. Properly rest.
The sources share some nice examples, right? Sarah, who rediscovered baking, Mark, who started exercising.
You have real stories of people using that reclaimed time and energy in fulfilling ways. It's inspiring.
And cognitively. Less constant input means more space for what?
Internal processing. Daydreaming, reflection, creativity.
Right.
Our brains need that downtime to connect ideas and solve problems. Constant input crowds that out.
So less noise and more insight generated within.
Well put. And overarching all of this is an increased sense of agency.
Agency. Feeling in control.
Right. Feeling like you're mastering your technology, not the other way around. That builds confidence, self-respect. But it's an ongoing practice, isn't it?
Definitely. Not a one-time fix. You have to keep tending the garden, so to speak.
Well said.
So the core message here really is that digital well-being isn't about ditching tech. It's about making it serve your goals.
Mastering it for your own objectives.
Yeah.
Using it intentionally.
And the call to action. What's one small thing someone listening can do, like today?
Pick just one strategy. Maybe tackling notifications or delaying the phone check in the morning. Just one thing.
To commit to it for.
The next 7 days? Just 1 week. See how it feels.
Okay, a manageable first step. We'd genuinely love it if you shared your commitment, or maybe the biggest thing that resonated with you from this deep dive.
Absolutely. Remember, your time and your attention,
Yeah.
they're incredibly valuable. Start reclaiming them. You have the power to do it.
Be the hero of your own attention span. Live intentionally. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.